On this episode, I discuss how I live a full life with PTSD and I give suggestions on how you can as well. If you know someone who is suffering with post traumatic stress disorder or any mental health disorder, please make sure that they reach out to the crisis line, the National Suicide Prevention Line at 1 800 273 8255. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1 800 273 8255. Let's get started. Welcome to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, a podcast created for Black women veteran entrepreneurs by a Black women veteran entrepreneur. In our podcast, we cover women veteran issues, entrepreneurship, family, and more. And your host is Rolande Sumner. This is going to be a solo episode. I'm not going to have a guest on, but I wanted to share how I live with post-traumatic stress disorder and how you can too. There's a lot of women veterans out there who don't have PTSD, and there are a lot who do have PTSD and other mental health issues that were developed in and out of the military. But this can also be applicable to those who didn't serve in the armed forces and still have the disorder. I want to share this. One, it's selfish because it helps me heal, but also I want to share it because I want to make sure I do my part in saving a life. Untreated, this can really affect a whole entire family. It can affect the person who's suffering. Um, People have committed suicide. They have lost their battle with it because it was so debilitating. So I want to use this platform to help others out there who might be suffering. Because when you're in a dark place, you feel alone. You feel like there's no one else out there who understands, and that you feel kind of stupid because you're like, oh, how can I be going through this? I must be weak. Um, but it does help to have a support system. So some of the symptoms that I experience, and you might experience as well, with this is depression. You're gonna have a good bout of depression. It's gonna be a dark place. You're gonna be sad. If you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, depression comes with it. Um, you just might feel like there are days. I felt like there were days where there was nothing to be happy about. Like I was constantly, chronically sad all the time. It literally felt like I lived in Gotham City on a rainiest day. It was just terrible. I had anxiety. If I heard noises, um, anybody even looked at me the wrong way, I would just feel really unstable and shaken up and anxious. Um, I still have nightmares, and I've taken medication for that, but at the end of the day, it's just part of my life. I have nightmares. Flashbacks. Flashbacks can be triggered by anything that remotely reminds you of the environment, the person, the place, the thing um, that you were surrounded around or that involved that traumatic event. Sensitivity to noise and light. Sometimes the radio in the car is too loud and I don't want to hear anything. I just need to hear silence. When I am in a funk, I just want to hear silence. And the same thing with light. I just want darkness because the light hurts. It's just weird how your mind um, will malfunction and you just can't tolerate basic things. Memory loss is big. At least for me, I have to write down everything. And my daughter is a great source of memory because even sometime after I write it down, she'll say, mommy, I want to remind you about X, Y, and Z. So the first thing I want to emphasize is I live a wonderful life. This is my new normal. I have accepted it. And with that, I am determined to live a beautiful life and to take advantage of everything and be choosy about what upsets me. For instance, my husband lost his wedding ring last week, and I didn't get upset. It was just a ring. It's just a piece of metal. It doesn't. It's not a true indication of how much he loves me or what he's willing to do for me, which I know is go to hell and back. So it's a ring. We'll get him another one. Big deal. If he lost his finger, I'd be like, oh my goodness, what happened? But it's a ring. Now, if you would have caught me a couple of years ago, there would have been this big fight, and I would have broken dishes and ran around the house with a knife. But now I'm just like, it's a ring. There are worse things in the world. Um, so I'm very, very choosy about what I get upset about, what interrupts my what interrupts my peace. I try to live in a state of zen as best as I can. Um, but I live a beautiful life because I made a choice to do whatever I can to make my life beautiful to my standards. So I try to enjoy my kids and listen to them and do the best I can. I try to enjoy what I do, try to rest. But at the end of the day, I am determined to live a beautiful life to my standards, not to everyone else's standards. So here are 7 ways that I facilitate that. And if you have other ways that you live a beautiful life, and while you're living with a mental illness, go ahead and share those ways because there's someone who's listening, there's someone who's watching who could use this information. So the first thing I did is I acknowledged that I have a mental illness. Nothing can be changed if you don't acknowledge that there is a problem. You can't fix it if you don't believe that it's there. And it made me accountable. Like now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So I acknowledged that there was an issue. I acknowledged there was a mental health issue and that I needed help. The second thing I did was I was honest about what PTSD included and what that meant to me. So, like I mentioned, there's depression, there's anxiety, um, there's also uh, flashbacks and nightmares and memory loss, and everybody's might be slightly different, but that is included in my life. That's part of my new normal. And so I tailor my life so that I reduce the triggers to those items as much as possible. I won't say ever, never be triggered because that's not realistic. Um, but to reduce the episodes or to reduce those triggers as much as possible. Um, but first, I had to acknowledge that I had a mental illness and then be honest with myself as to what that included. The third thing I did was I developed a toolkit. It's a mental toolkit um, that I have with the help of mental health professionals I have developed. And my toolkit includes coping mechanisms that help me stay out of a state of crisis. The tools I use to maintain stability are meditation, medication, healthy diet, exercise, rest, gratitude, counseling, and learning when to say no. Um, but other tools that I use to help me stay out of crisis, especially if I feel like I'm about to, have an anxiety attack or what have you, are there's a thing called the 5 senses. And what you do is you start with your senses and recognizing what's around you. So, right now, if I was to have an anxiety attack, I would say, I see a brown box in front of me. And is this brown box safe? Is it in a safe place? If it is safe, am I, then I should be safe. Um, I hear myself talking into the microphone. Um, And so I assess the safety of that. And then I'm calm because I know what I'm hearing is safe. Now, if I'm in an area, I live in a rural area and there's a lot of people hunting, and sometimes I hear the gunshots. I have to stop and think, Rolanda, you heard gunshots. Are you safe? You know, no, you're at home, so you are safe. Things of that nature. Um, I'm touching the blanket. What do I feel? I feel the blanket on my legs because it's cold in my office. Um, I taste tea. I'm drinking mint tea. So I taste the mint and the honey in the tea. So I go through all five of my senses and I choose things that are affecting those senses, like what I see, what I taste, what I hear, what I feel, what I smell. I smell the tea, and that helps me get grounded again. Other times I just go out and take very deep breaths. Just get into the practice of taking deep breaths. And believe it or not, just by taking those deep breaths until I am calm does help out. Now, a word from our sponsors. Podbean is an easy to use, all in one podcast hosting and publishing platform. Podbean offers podcasting with no limits, and all plans have robust features to help you succeed with your podcast. You can even record and publish podcasts right from your mobile phone with the Podbean app. Podbean also offers integrated monetization tools so you can earn revenue for the work you create. To get started, visit podbean.com/butterangels. Butter Angels Handcrafted Skincare creates natural vegan skincare products made with exotic ingredients from around the world. Butter Angels soothes and moisturizes dry skin on the face, hands, elbows, knees, and ankles of our nation's bravest warriors. Butter Angels Handcrafted Skincare is lightweight, fast absorbing, and long lasting, making it easy for women veterans to moisturize and beautify on the go. Visit butterangels.com to learn more. The fourth thing I do is I work to shape my life around my needs. I work to shape my life around my needs. So I chose a job that was a little bit more flexible so that if I needed to take a day off of work, I wouldn't get in as much trouble. If I chose, and I'm not going to tell you where I work, but I'm a caseworker, um, and there's some flexibility in that job, only in the sense that they support me when I need to take care of myself and my family. Bottom line, you can work for a company, and sometimes they won't support you in taking care of yourself and your family. Um, but I was very fortunate enough to find a company that allowed me to take care of myself and my family. And it's a very diverse company, so they work with a lot of people who have barriers, and so they understood. And so I thought that was great. I also have cut down some of the activities and groups I'm in. Sometimes I can overstretch myself. And so if I wear myself out, then I'm more triggered. I get triggered more easily. I'm less patient. I'm sick more often. So I had to tailor my life around my needs. I have my own business, Butter Angels. My business is designed to wrap around what I need it to. It's designed so that I can pursue my passion and still do whatever I want or whatever I need. So the first thing, of course, is I acknowledge that I have PTSD. The second thing is being honest what PTSD included and what that meant to me. And the third was to develop a toolkit. I highly recommend you develop a toolkit and work with a mental health professional who can help you develop the toolkit. And then the last thing we just spoke about was shaping my life around my needs. The fifth thing is I am determined to live a full life, period. I am determined to live a happy life regardless of what my limitations are. And I'm not satisfied with the idea that I can be bedridden or, not in my right mind or in poverty because I have this ailment. I'm not I'm not okay with that. Um, and so I'm determined to live a full life, not only for myself, but for my family, my children. It's not just me that I have to be concerned about. Whatever I do affects them too. So I need to be determined in those times when I'm feeling really low, that I have to pull myself out of it. I have to work to maintain stability so that they're not affected. I identify my motivators. So, what motivates me? What motivates me to stay sane or to work on my sanity is my family. When I'm in bad place, they're in a bad place. And so, knowing that I have that effect on them and I can cause a lot of pain for them makes me work really hard to not cause that type of pain so that they can smile and live healthy lives, particularly in my kids, because I don't want them to grow up and feel like, we have to take care of you because you didn't want to take care of yourself. That's just a hard thing to swallow. So I identify my motivators. And sometimes this helps me to prevent an anxiety attack. And it helps me to, get out of my depression, especially when the medication's not working as well as they said it should. And I forgive myself often. The last thing is to forgive yourself often because it's a long road. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You're going to make mistakes and you're going to slip. I know I slip. I get triggered. I don't take care of myself as much as I should sometimes. And then I'm mean and I'm running around the house like a crazy lady. And I have to forgive myself and say, you know what? It's just part of life. You know, don't stay in this dark place, Rolanda. Acknowledge that you have this disorder, what it means to you. Go inside your toolkit. Um, Reshape your day to address your needs and reshape the rest of the week to address your needs. Um, and be determined to continue to live fully and remember who your motivators are. So these are just some things I do to live a full life with PTSD. It is not a death sentence. And I want to encourage anybody else who's going through a hard time and they don't have a plan. They may not have a plan, but they might just be like, I don't know if I should be here on this earth, like I'm a burden or what have you. I want to leave life. I want to kill myself or what have you. Please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. The number is 800-273-8255. 800-273-8255. So that you can get some help because there's someone out there who needs you in some way, shape, or form. You don't know them yet. You may not know them. You may not have run into them, but they need you. And so you have to stay alive so that you can help others and help yourself and enjoy life. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave all of that in the comments and I will get back to you shortly. And thank you so much for listening to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur. Have a good day. Thank you for tuning in to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, the podcast created for and by African American women, veteran entrepreneurs. Sister Soldier Entrepreneur is powered by Butter Angels Handcrafted Skincare. Butter Angels Handcrafted Skincare is handcrafted, natural vegan skincare created with exotic ingredients from around the world. To be a guest on our show, please visit butterangels.com and click on Sister Soldier Entrepreneur. We would love to hear from you.